Hi, I'm William Stewart, co-founder of Teleios. Welcome back to our verse-by-verse study on the book of Matthew. We are in the Christmas story in chapter 2, and the wise men have appeared before Herod seeking the Christ child, telling Herod, I don't know what got into the Magi's head, there's a king out there. We've come to worship the king from God. And Herod gets all paranoid and sends them to be his spies to um, Bethlehem to tell him about the Christ child. So Herod said he can come and worship him also. So, however, the wise men were warned by God not to go back to Herod, and they left another way. It picks up our story in verse 16 of chapter 2. Then Herod, when he saw he was mocked by the wise men, now they didn't mock him, they just left another way. So it shows you the paranoia of King Herod. That he, in his sensitivity, I think why he murdered so many people he didn't like, when he considered himself mocked for the wise men leaving without saying a thing. He was exceedingly wroth, angry, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and in the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and younger, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. So any baby born up to that time, I think it's saying, and for 2 years old, trying to cover all his bases so there wouldn't be a competitive king that would threaten his always tenuous position, because not only did the Jews not really like him, and there have been rebellions. There were rebellions when he took over the kingship, as well as the Romans could kick him out if there was disorder in the province. So he put to death these children. Now, does that remind you of anything? Well, of course, it reminds you of Pharaoh putting to death of the children in Egypt, the Jewish children, when he heard about Moses. So in both instances, these two kings tried to eliminate the seed of Messiah. And so they're often thought to be types of the Antichrist who fights against Messiah, trying to destroy him. So the Antichrist, just before the second coming, the last 3.5 years before the second coming, can maintain his power permanently. And of course, he loses and is ultimately consigned to hell. But these are types or patterns that God is using to teach what will ultimately occur in the coming years. Antiochus Epiphanes, who created the abomination of desolation in the temple at 166 BC, also would fit into this category. Okay. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, and this is Jeremiah 31:15, in Ramah, which is a small town in Benjamin, there was a voice heard, lamentation and weeping, great mourning. Rachel, who is one of the wives of two wives of Jacob and his favorite, and was the son or the mother of Benjamin, where Ramah lies, weeping for her children, and would not be comforted because they were not. So this is talking about this prophecy foreshadowed or told about this incident with Herod in the future. But when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, Arise, take the young child and his mother, go into the land of Israel, for they are dead which sought the young king's life. So there's a plural there. It would mean Herod. I'm not sure who else it would relate to, but there must have been multiple people who met their end. Herod died soon after this incident. It's interesting. Oftentimes in history, you read of people who are trying to destroy the seed, and also trying to destroy the church, that they meet a pretty quick demise. And this is another incident. So it could be several other people met a demise as well. This is what it says, but doesn't say the cause. And he rose and took the young child and his mother and came into the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus means leader of the people in Greek, he was one of the sons of Herod the Great, and was at that point he replaced Herod. I don't think he wasn't called king as I remember, but he was the leader, the Roman appointed leader over Judea. Did reign in Judea in the room of his father Herod. He was afraid to go thither, notwithstanding being warned of God in a dream. He turned aside into the parts of Galilee. So Archelaus was not known to be a nice person. In fact, about 10 years later, he was removed by Rome for being cruel. Now, Rome was cruel, and if they're removing somebody for being cruel, and this is the only time I've ever read that it happened, he must have been pretty bad. So God warned the family, Joseph and Mary, to avoid him. 23. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth. This is in Samaria, south of Galilee, not too far north of Jerusalem, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets. He shall be called Nazarene. Now, this is a bit of a controversial prophecy because there's not a specific scripture that says this. Now, Nazareth was known to be a poor, rural, backward community. So you might have in mind some places that would fit that description. I grew up in the Ozarks in southwestern Missouri, which is known to be a bit of a backward community in the rural sections. I'm sure it's upgraded itself with modern technology, but the same with Nazareth. So by the prophets indicating that people were known to be backward or poor from that area, by prophets indicating that Christ himself would be poor, such as Isaiah and Zechariah, that in a sense he took on that title of a Nazarene from that area, and so it was known that he would be of humble origins. Okay, so where have we come? Well, the Magi have left. Herod got mad in a terrible act, killed the Hebrew children, much like Pharaoh had, to save his own life, basically, and position. And he died not soon after, we know from the historical record. And then the Joseph and Mary and the Christ child returned to a rural area that would be safe, also fulfilling prophecy, as did the murdering of the children by Herod. All right, thank you for joining me today. That concludes chapter 3. We come into the adult phase of Christ's life next time, into his baptism. Very important chapter. Thank you for joining me for these videos. I'll look forward to seeing you next time.